run. Seventh race, scratch 1 Golden Hornet, scratch 6 Tape to Tape. Seventh race, scratch 1 Golden Hornet, scratch 6 Tape to Tape. Eighth race, Turf Good, rail set at 10 feet out, jackpot high five wagering. The only carryover pool today, jackpot high five carryover, $102,200. $102,200 in the jackpot high five carryover pool in the eighth. And then the eighth race, scratch 3 Midnight Blue Note, scratch 4 Ever Loving Hand, scratch 13 Bourbon Delight, scratch 14 Go for Sherry. Eighth race today, scratch 3 Midnight Blue Note, scratch 4 Ever Loving Hand, scratch 13 Bourbon Delight, scratch 14 Go for Sherry. Once again, the jackpot high five carryover pool on race 8, $102,200. Those are the changes on today's 8-race program. Racing fans, I remind you, if you haven't already done so, be sure to sign up for Club Hawthorne. It's your chance to accumulate points to be redeemed for valuable prizes, including cash throughout the year. Visit guest services in the simulcast area for more information. Starting points today, sign up for Club Hawthorne. Our racing schedule, Wednesday, Thursday, Sundays. First race every day we race, 2:30 Central Time. We're open for simulcast every day. PointsBet Sportsbook open every day for your convenience. I remind you, learn more about the PointsBet Sportsbook at pointsbet.com. Learn more about Club Hawthorne at clubhawthorne.com. And learn more about everything here at Hawthorne, including early bird wagering, west end of the building, open every day. Learn all the happenings at Hawthorne, including upcoming handicapping tournaments, pool parties, our racing schedule for the rest of the year, how you can earn bonuses on your Club Hawthorne card, all the information at hawthorneracecourse.com. We welcome everybody across the betting network, including the inter-track and off-track facilities around North America. We welcome everyone across the world via the internet. Here at Hawthorne Racecourse, under cloudy skies, weather temperature in the 60s. The dirt track is fast, turf listed is good. We're at the rail set at 10 feet out. Post time for the first race in 43 minutes at 2:30 Central Time. In all cases, we ask you to make your selections early. Have fun, and thank you.
And good afternoon, racing fans. Welcome to Hawthorne Racecourse for a Sunday afternoon of thoroughbred action. Jim Miller and Emily Gullikson down here in our studio on the mezzanine here at Hawthorne Racecourse. As you saw from our city shot, Emily, a little bit of a kind of overcast day more than anything. We actually had some much needed rain. That was the first precipitation we've had in about a month. Not much to do with the turf, maybe soften it up just slightly, but good to see that we're on the grass.
Yeah, and I know that you've mentioned it a few days in a row, how much the turf course needed it, and just the difference from Mother Nature versus having the sprinkler. So we'll appreciate that. A little bit of overcast, as you said, a little misty as I was driving in, but I think that was the end of it, and it's been cooled us off a little bit too, because we were getting close to the 80s, and you know, brought the jacket back out.
Too warm a weather isn't the best thing for horses, so this type of weather the horses definitely love. Our main track always can take a whole lot of precipitation, so main track is listed as fast. We were hurt a bit by scratches today throughout the course of the card. We'll get to those in a little bit, but before we jump into the scratches, Emily, let's look back at yesterday. Final leg of the Triple Crown, the Belmont Stakes. I thought it was a really good field assembled. You had Forte coming back, you had Angel of Empire, Tapit Trice coming back, all the horses that everybody was kind of talking about. And Arcangelo kind of flew under the radar just a little bit. But I'll tell you, it was a beautiful ride, a great race, and awesome to see the Connections win that race as well, too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the ride was spectacular, the preparation on the horse, just getting that horse moving forward. And yeah, maybe the horse was flying a little bit under the radar, unless your name is Jordan Jane, because he absolutely loved that horse. And if I had one good pick yesterday at the pool party, it was nominating Jordan to be the guest, because my opinions were terrible. Jordan carried the whole day, had two really strong opinions. Maybe we could have punched it a little bit more, but all in all, a good day at the pool party, and everybody left with $120. So,
and that's a good day for sure. How was the turnout for the pool party overall?
It was great. Good. We had that, that kind of private room where we've done the invitational in the past, and they put a lot of food out, so nobody left hungry, that's for sure.
Well, and that's the thing about the pool parties that we always talk about. It's inexpensive. You get a program, you get an analysis, a part of the wagering pool, and you get some food and drink. So that's a great location for it. So I'm glad everything turned out well. And hey, it's good that Jordan liked that horse, because when it's an 8-1 winner, especially of a Triple Crown race, it has to be a nice return. Like you say, you always wish you could have pushed it a little bit more, but it sounds like you guys did okay for the players.
We did okay, and I know Jordan had a very, very good day. Such a strong player. I think everybody's able to learn from him. I'm always in awe. I mean, he's exceptional for a reason, and he had a great day and absolutely deserves it. One of the nicest people, one of the greatest people in this game, and good to see him have some success and share it with the rest of us.
Yeah, and that's very cool to see. And I'll tell you, you're going to see a whole lot of really good handicappers in just a couple of weeks, because we're 2 weeks away from the Hawthorne Horse Players Invitational. This is a contest that is big bankrolls, really good players. One of those where you have some mandatory races and some optional races, but to see the strategy that comes in is super cool. And the cool thing about it is we're going to stream it on our YouTube channel. You're going to be there, Ed DeRosa is going to be there, and just overall to see kind of how everything turns out for how players play races, it's something that should be a whole lot of fun as well, too.
I'm really looking forward to it. The field is set, so to speak, as far as the invitational, and so just looking through the field, quality players. I'm really looking forward to talking with everybody, getting some insight, learning myself, and then being able to share that, working with Ed DeRosa, somebody that I've been friends with for a long time in this industry, and he's a great asset to have on board, and I'm looking forward to it. Or I think it's 2 weeks from today.
It is 2 weeks from today, Hawthorne Derby Day, and the Hawthorne Derby turned out to be a great race last year. I think it'll be a very good race once again this year. That's going to be the first day that we're actually all the way in on lane 1 on our turf course, so you get the full width of the turf course, so should be a lot of full fields on the grass, should be a lot of great wagering opportunities, but that's going to come up with the Horse Players Invitational in just a couple of weeks. All right, Emily, today we do have a fast track. We are good on the turf course. We have 8 races on the card. Again, some races hurt by scratches. There were 3 vet scratches in the opener. The 2, 4, and 8 are out of the first. We go 5/8 of a mile in here. What's interesting, though, Larry Ravelli has 2 in this spot. Both could be very tough here as you look to Moment to Shine and Sweet Little Lisa. Let's start with Moment to Shine. This is going to be the first start out of the year. You're coming in off a little bit of a layoff, Lasix for the first time, but this is a horse that had 2 starts in Kentucky and now is going to try the grass for the first time.
Yeah, it's a third start and third surfaces and third track, and you can make some excuses for those first 2 races. Actually ran a better than look race with some trouble in that debut out at Churchill Downs and didn't seem to handle the synthetic, but coming back in the spot, working steady, seems like they should be well met and seems like enough of a versatile horse. But as we're looking at the board right now. The
look at that.
stablemate and their first-time starter, Sweet Little Lisa, who I can only guess this horse is named after, seems to be favored in this race, and maybe that's some intent. I went back and watched the sales video. Worked 21-1 last June at OBS, and just from a physical standpoint, looks like one that can handle the turf, so could be well met in this spot.
For those of you who have been to races here in the Chicagoland area over the course of many years, you will know who Sweet Little Lisa is, as she is down in the PointsBet Sportsbook each and every live racing day. She's worked the boxes at Arlington over the years, worked the Gold Cup dining room here at Hawthorne, so an aptly named racehorse who hopefully is very fast and does very well for everybody. Maybe the reason why this horse has taken a little bit of early action as well too. I do have her in the mix, but I think Moment to Shine is actually possibly the one, just because of a little bit of seasoning, who has a slight advantage in this spot. And if you're going to get 9-2 on that horse, on any horse from the Ravelli barn, definitely worth looking to. So Moment to Shine is the one I'll look to as well in today's opener. Second race on the card, this is a race that changes up a little bit, because Bally Baby is the horse that got scratched out of here, the horse that was going to be the heavy favorite, I think, in this spot. Leaves you with only 4 62.50 claimers to go 3/4 of a mile. And now you kind of have to figure out what's going to happen. I went to Sweet Fraulein because I think this is a horse that now kind of controls things on the front end. I was curious. I didn't know what to make of Little Bella, because if Little Bella is anything like what this horse was before, the horse is an absolute standout in this spot.
Yeah, and I'm going to upgrade her, and I know this is one of those, rare occasions. The horse is coming back with a 968-day layoff, so obviously there's some issues there. She's now a 7-year-old making that return, but comes in with a pattern of published bullet works, and also brings in jockey Javor Simpson. Hopefully I'm saying that correctly, but a rider that rides down over at FanDuel. Only mount, so possibly working this horse down there, so that could be some intent. And just knowing that this horse has some layoff lines, it's not the type of horse that you can rely on to get a prep, right? So it's not like, oh, we'll give her a race and then see what happens. She might be off again. So I think they kind of have to come in ready, and the complexion of this field, I would just upgrade her in this case, but obviously I could see why people would have reservations with the layoff.
Here's the thing that's interesting about it. Here in Illinois, you have the option for the waiver when you're coming in off that lengthy layoff to run that first race and not run for the tag, but they're going to be in for the tag today. I'll be curious to see if anybody jumps in, because when you say nearly 1,000 days away from the races, that's a long time. That can scare anyone off. So one of two things can happen. Either the horse runs out of the screen, and then all of a sudden now you have a horse that's just going to rattle off a bunch of victories in starter races, or you have the horse that just isn't really in the mix throughout, and maybe even nobody jumps in. So we'll see what happens with Little Bella, but that's such an intriguing horse and makes race 2 very interesting on today's card. Third race on the card, $5,000 claimers. They go a mile and 70 yards. Pick 6 wagering kicks off in the third. Scratch the 4. That's Time Break. From this field of 5 now, when you and I agree, we usually do pretty well together. I know we both gave a look to the 3, Timeless Glory. I like the intent here. Tony Granite's coming in with this one, a horse that's been training in Indiana but comes over to Hawthorne today.
Yeah, and for all those reasons, just looks like intent. Granite's comes in with these type of horses where she has form under similar conditions here. Just seems like the right spot and should be able to get a favorable trip. The layoff's not too excessive, just a 46-day freshening coming in off the series at Tampa. And, the complexion of the race changes just a little bit, but I don't think it hurts her in terms of trip in this race. On a Tour is one that's established around 2 turns. The stablemate Time Break comes out, and I thought maybe Time Break was in to help create some pace for On a Tour, so we'll have to see what kind of trip she gets. And even Bertrada, I'll give her a mention, because she actually has some back races around 2 turns, even though she spent the majority of her races as of late sprinting.
Yeah, and I think you're right. I mean, I think On a Tour was going to benefit more if Time Break was in this race. So with that one out of there, it does change the complexion of things a little bit. Going back to Timeless Glory, here's the thing. Those last 3 fields were much tougher than anything you see today. The 2 races on the turf, you kind of put a line through that, not only for quality of the field, but the grass, and even that last start out at 7/8 was tough. If you get back to the races 4 and 5 back, those are the races that are kind of at this level, or the most comparable thing.
Yes.
And those are the races that are good enough to beat this field. So I'm going to look to Timeless Glory as well in the third. Fourth race, you get Starter Allowance Company in here. You're going to scratch the 2 Arch Flyer. This is a quirky race, because so often it was just long, tall woman, long, tall woman, long, tall woman. Then all of a sudden, one day you pick Seaward, and Seaward goes out there and wins, and then Seaward disappears to Belterra for a while, and now Seaward's back. Then Race Day Attires run some good races. First Kittens run some good races. So there's so many different ways you can look in this spot. Who did you end up starting out with here in race number 4?
I think I started out by saying this is the most competitive race on the card.
But
in terms of race shape, I mean, there's just a couple ways to look at it. Probably one, I don't have like a strong like standout in here, but First Kitten, if we're looking at early speed, could be able to take the controlling speed in here. It'll depend on the tactics as far as race day attire. If they try to send and push a little bit, if they let First Kitten go, that could be the race right there, because she just might have a slight pace advantage. A couple horses that I'm just going to kind of throw out there at prices because they're not far out. Sam Marita, I know she doesn't look that strong on the plot, but one of those is the race 2 back, where she had legitimate trouble in the start. That was that May 7th race, and she actually went on to win riderless of that race. So fits under similar conditions, and I think just running in this spot, I think they're looking for the place to get the win just while she's still a little bit in form and while that timing is right. And then Way Too Smart coming out of Third Chance Stakes, where there wasn't much intent that day. They didn't ask for run, just looked like they were giving her a race, so the form a little bit dirtied up. So those two I kind of kept on the radar.
She has a lot of back class, and it's kind of sneaky back class, but almost $200,000 in lifetime earnings. She's won stake races here at Hawthorne before, so she wouldn't surprise me by any means. I actually expected you to go to Seaward in here, and you didn't, so it's one of the things that really kind of freaks me out. And I do want to find out in a second here, because this is a horse that ran a really nice race, winning at 8-1 on the day that you liked this horse back on April the 23rd, and got a solid trip in there. I'm curious to see. I don't know if there's enough pace to run at, because First Kitten might be the lone speed in this race, and Seaward is a horse that, again, was competitive here, left, and then comes back, but ran some decent races. So why don't you like Seaward?
It's not for the reason that she's not capable, because as you mentioned, she obviously is. But as far as the win last out at Belterra, that was just 11 days ago, and just from a visual standpoint, it looked like a top effort. She goes to make this big move around the turn. She was so good, the rider just decided to throw the whip in the air and was like, I don't even need this, and just kind of had to push into her. And just even still, I don't think there was much more from her. So I was just concerned in terms of form cycle that maybe that race just put her like a little bit over the top, and especially in a competitive group where she was probably going to take money off that form. And then the day going back to the Long Tall Woman common race, I mean, Long Tall Woman, another one that's obviously capable, but her form might be on the decline as well, because the last 3 races, the speed figures are starting to go backwards. So we know she can rebound at some point. It's just a matter of like when she's going to be a short price. Maybe you want to catch some others that are on the upswing. Neither of those horses would shock me. I just thought short price, there's any little knocks, it's going to create an opportunity for some others.
And that's the thing about Long Tall Woman, because she always takes action here. She always runs decently, but yeah, she's not the same racehorse that she was at the end of last fall. Doesn't mean she can't win by any means, but we'll just see how things unfold. Cool thing about our studio, we have a bunch of TV set up here. I'm glancing to my left and just seeing a home screen from Ellis Park, so I'm curious to see if there was some sort of cancellation or something. So if there was, if our TV guys can actually check with Peter Galassi and then let me know in my ear. Peter's always usually good at checking that stuff out, but we'll see if there was any type of change at Ellis.
I bet there was, because right before it went to that screen, it was downpouring with the horses in the paddock, so it could be weather. Yeah, and
that's one of the places, it's usually really dry there, so I don't know how they handle rain or how they handle weather or anything like that. But it was one of those where they were just kind of getting started for that transition over from Churchill to Ellis Park. So see how things unfold, and we'll give you a firm update if we do hear something there. But like you said, it could have definitely been weather over there at Ellis Park. All right, race number 5 goes 5.5 furlongs on the good turf course. $10,000 claimer, starts 50-cent late pick 4 wagering, just a 15% takeout on the pick 4. Scratch the 8, rank and file. Scratch the 9, she's reckless, and the 11, a Lucy's looking left. It's still a good race, and you and I, it's interesting because the 2 horses that I have 1-2 were the first 2 you talked about, just in a slightly different order. But April's Gem and Rear Action Attack are 2 horses that could get the right pace set up in this spot.
And I'm actually really glad that you went back to Rare Action Attack, because you liked her last out, and I thought she ran well, and I think she's going to benefit even more from today's race. That was my kind of one thing, is I thought she was a really good pick last time. You made a really clever case for her on that day. It was just one of those where the race dynamic just didn't quite suit her. But this race dynamic, even with the scratches, should play in her favor a little bit more. And that's kind of why I upgraded her, because you made that strong case last out, this being a better scenario. And then as far as April's Gem, she's remaining on the turf, where she did have some trouble in that common race on May 25th, and seems obvious in here. And then the one creative of idea I tried to go with was Go Storm and Girl, who
Yeah.
actually had some sneaky races on the turf and was able to show some different dimensions. So one to keep on the radar.
But like you mentioned, even with She's Reckless out, you look at, okay, play 20 probably goes. First Squadron probably goes. I don't know if Good
Stacy
Mongolia
Attack.
does, but Stacy Attack has to go as well, too. So, yeah, it just kind of sets up for these horses to rate, then come running at them late at 5.5 furlongs. You get the added 16th off that last out. And I don't mind the outside draw on these turf sprints because it's tighter turns. You need to try to get that angle coming in. And we'll see. And they're showing
They're back in the
they
paddock,
just
yeah.
brought a picture back up, but yeah, they're.
They might have had a weather
Okay, so
delay
it says,
'cause it looks
weather delay, and they lost power for some time there. So we'll see if they pop back up and get back to racing or not, or if they are just going to be delayed for a little bit. But they do show horses in the paddock right there. But a loss of power at Ellis Park, putting them at least on delay for right now. But yes, back to our race, Rare Action Attack, the horse I'm going to look to. I don't think you get 15-1 anymore at the scratch of She's Reckless, but still a horse that I think could put forth with a decent trip there in race number 5. 6th race on the card. Interesting race here. All right, we scratched a 210 pack, and then the 3 Larry the Poet and 8 Tahoe Run are both re-entered in a route race, maiden route race coming up on Thursday. So both these horses were going to be your favorite and second choice in here, but Intent, when they match up Thursday, you have to pick them 1-2 in that spot. You just have to, because they both came out wanting to go there. It muddies up this race a little bit more because now it makes it very tough. It's a lot of lightly raced horses, first-time starters, and I think it makes the 6th a very tough race now.
Yeah, it really does. I mean, you don't know what you're going to get from the 3 first-time
Right.
starters in here. Manny Perez sitting out 2, certainly a capable. Both these horses have great names, by the way.
Yeah.
Black Raven is obviously I'm going to be keen to, and then Amber Edge sounds like somebody I went to shows with back in the mid-90s. But, any of those first-time starters could pop up. We've seen some first-time starters that flew completely under the radar that, went out to the front and never looked back for lower percenter connections this meet. And then you have the 2 horses with experience, Easy Fast, kind of rushed up into a duel before losing ground. And then Wild Ministry broke very slow on debut and looked like the winner out at FanDuel. Made the move, looked like it was going to go by the rival in the stretch, just kind of hung a little bit. So I don't know if it was like the middle move, being green, all those factors, but still a very good effort going forward. I would say probably just of the visuals, I would prefer Wildwood Ministry, but I think, this race is probably one once you get closer to post time and get a look at the horses, get a look at the board, maybe level it out a little bit from that.
I would say so. I mean, look and see what kind of early action there is. I mean, I know you like to check like the double well pays and you like to check the pick 3s and that. And I think you really have to just to kind of see who's looking at, especially the first timers in here from the 2 Manny Perez horses, because they might give you a little bit of an idea as well. I did go to Easy Fast just because the horse I thought could show some speed, and you get the inside in here. Emmanuel Giles, the Bug Boy, back in the saddle, so the Bug gets the return ride. And this is the horse that, even though it broke okay in at that first start, kind of got pushed out there a little bit into the center of the track and then had to get back into the mix slightly. So we'll see how things unfold. But yeah, when you lose the 2 favorites, it really makes the race a lot tougher. But 6th race, I thought actually a pretty good race there to start the last of our pick 3s.
And now I'm going to have to change my analysis for Thursday because
Yep.
I was like, I don't know who's in this race.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
now
you
I
do.
know.
Right, yeah, those 2 horses are in there. And you talk about intent. I mean, there was one of those when we were trying to make the Thursday card. To get maidens to go 2 turns is hard to fill. And we had 4 in there, and then we said, okay, these 2 horses both wanted to come out of this race to go in that spot, and to give them the opportunity to do so, because older maidens especially gets a little bit tougher to fill as the year progresses. So going to get that race to go Thursday, but both those horses look very tough in that spot. All right, 7th race. This is a good race even after the scratches here. Take out the 1 Golden Horn and the 6 Tape to Tape. Tape to Tape, after looking through all the muddy of conditions for the race, actually wasn't eligible for the spot. And then Golden Horn had scratched this morning, but you go 3/4 of a mile. It's a field of 6. It's still a really good bunch. Omaha Red Emily was a horse that finally figured it out, it seemed, after a while to grab a victory in that last out. Went west from the barn of Louis Roussel. You know the Roussel barn's always going to be ready to go. And then you get WW Scouts Honor coming in off a really good effort in that last out. But this still turned out to be a pretty good race.
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. I think it's quality up and down. I can make a case really for any of these horses. And it might be another one of those races, kind of like the 4th, where it comes down to trip because, again, you wouldn't be surprised. And I think some of the scratches as far as Golden Hornet and Tape to Tape coming out of the race should benefit Omaha Red. McCann Mandu has some early speed, but maybe not quite on the same class level or finishing ability. So Omaha Red should be able to sit right off him and look to get first run. But you mentioned went west. go through his performances, he's arguably the class of the field in this race. Some of the faster races, has strong finishing ability, the live barn, and it's another one that with those layoff lines is probably not the type of horse that you can rely on as a prep, so you kind of have to get him race ready, and if he's ready, he could certainly fire and win. Yeah, and then WW Scouts Honor, I mean, I guess if anything, you kind of coming back from the wide trip 2 weeks ago, now he's going to be up against Open Company in here. And then even Navy SEAL, I think he's going to be resetting his form cycle coming out of Oaklawn Park, but that's a decent horse. He would
and
be
he's
no
run
surprise.
really well here in the past.
Yes, yeah.
So Navy
and a
SEAL.
little bit, and probably softer company when he won here. That was kind of the one, like, because I went to look at him and I was like, okay, might need one, might need a little bit softer, but again, no surprise. Where did you go?
I ended up going to WW Scouts Honor in this spot. I was on Golden Hornet at the start. I thought Golden Hornet was a horse from the inside that should get the right trip with tape to tape out. And you and I had followed Golden Hornet a little bit earlier on in the year, and I thought the fast track return was actually going to be the most beneficial. But with that one out, I scratched into WW Scouts Honor. I think the move to the inside from the outside maybe helps this one chances, but you can go so many different ways, like you mentioned. It went west. Everything the Roussel barn sends out always seems to be ready. And like you said, intention for this one, it's a lot of layoff lines, but that's just kind of how this horse runs. So they come in, when they come in, they want to come in ready to fire. And it's not like they're trying to duck any horses by any means. They're running in good quality races each and every start out. So good solid field there for race number 7. All right, in the 8th, the jackpot high fives growing. You see that carryover up there on the screen. $102,200, scratch 3, Midnight Blue Note, 4, Ever Loving Hand, and scratch both also eligibles. You still get a field of 10 to line up in here, Emily. You can go a lot of different ways in this spot. I know you covered multiple horses in here. Did you give a little bit of a look, consideration to Diamond Dave, the 2 horse in this spot?
You know, I did.
Okay.
You know, I'll start there because, and then we'll talk about the common race. But he's going to return to Hawthorne and the turf. He's got buried form where he was running against a little bit tougher company and that has some solid numbers that would stack up at this level. So I think there's intent is they're going to come back for the claiming tag. He had been in for 20 in the past where he was just that race par was a little bit too high. Even on his best day, he was like on the lower end of the race par. So this just moves him up, and I just thought he would get overlooked. And, you know, again, it's kind of like those 2 ways to go because then you have the horses that are going to come back from that May 21st common race, where you can really make a case for a lot of those horses in that race, some more obvious than others. But talking about that race, you know, back in NACO, probably could get overlooked just off the recent running line and that finishing position, but watching the trip, his trip began in the gate. He was very fractious, so maybe, you know, got off a little bit slow. Rider wasn't given in the best run. It showed running spots. Overall, an effort I would put on par with Iowa again and Dyna Blue. 2 horses I expect to be a little bit shorter, and I thought his effort was just as good. And then even though he didn't run on May 21st, Big Blue, the number 11, was actually entered to run. He just couldn't draw in. So I put him kind of in that group as well. And you like Maligator, who makes sense too. You know?
Then you talk about all horses in that race. Iowa again comes out of that race who was charging and just charging a little bit too late, but all 6 victories have come on the turf. Maligator from the outside is one of those who again tends to rate back early on and come running at him. I like the switch to Centeno in the saddle. That was a thing that I thought he'll finish up nicely on a horse that's making its 2nd start back off about an 8-month layoff. So that's the thing where I thought you could get
that was key
as well too.
Yeah, so. Needing that race. Yep.
Yeah, so there's a lot of different spots to go in the finale. Makes it very tough. You can go so many different ways. We'll see what the pace scenario is in the last, but a good race definitely to close out the card. All right, that's how we see the 8 races here on this Sunday afternoon. We're going to flip back to the opener and take a look at the field in the paddock for the first. The maidens in the opener, they're going 5/8 of a mile on the good turf course. Is in the spot, scratch to 2, Go On Girl, 4, Desired Legacy, and 8, Ariba Attack. Emily, you look at the board right now, and it's changed quite a bit since when we first talked about this race. When we first talked about it, the 5, Sweet Little Lisa, was the favorite, but let's start with the 3 horse here. That's Moment to Shine. This is the other one from the barn of trainer Larry Ravelli. You look at the horse right there on the screen right now, and off first impressions, the horse definitely looks good. And I guess the 6 to 5 is a little bit more expected to me in this spot.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, as you mentioned, has the experience of the 2 Ravelli horses, has the very good debut back on November 16th out at Churchill Downs, where it was a better than looked effort with legitimate trouble in there. Didn't seem to handle the course over at Turfway Park, and there was also some intent to run on this circuit because she was entered in maiden special weight race here on December 3rd, but they ended up running up at Turfway Park, slightly higher purse. So finding a little bit of class relief coming out of that Kentucky circuit seems to make sense on the return.
Yeah, it definitely does make sense here. Like you said, I mean, it's one of those where those races they were very tough. You come over here to Hawthorne today and get a couple of scratches. I'll Go On Girl, I think, is a key scratch because that's a horse that was going to show some speed and be a threat throughout. I think Two Royal has some speed here. Just saw Larry walk by there in the paddock, but Moment to Shine is the horse that I do expect to show that speed and be very tough here in the opener. All right, the 5-horse Sweet Little Lisa. This one at 5-2 on the board. And Sweet Little Lisa makes the debut today. Like you mentioned, it was a nice pattern of drills coming into the spot, so we'll have to see if she's ready at first asking.
Yeah, and you would think so, especially as you mentioned, we noticed there was some of that early money in there, and there's obviously, you know, they named her after somebody that is
very special to everybody. Yeah, everybody knows Lisa.
That was the best way to say it. Someone that is very special, and it's super true. And has some ability. I mean, it's been a little bit of a longer debut than probably what they expected. They picked her up out of the June sale at OBS last year, which is that 2-year-old in training sale, so typically the horses are ready. She worked 21-1 at that time, and from the visuals, seems like can handle the turf, so certainly makes sense that they have her on the grass today.
Yeah, debuts with the blinkers on, you're probably going to see a little bit of speed as well. You see some snappy gate drills. The one on April the 23rd, 47 out of the gate. That's pretty good work here at Hawthorne. So Sweet Little Lisa right now at 5-2. Now the 7-horse Wildwood Enough is 17-1. This surprised me a little bit here, Emily, because Scott Becker usually does pretty well with horses at first asking, does debut with those front wraps here, but you have some good drills, not only down at FanDuel Racing, but also here at Hawthorne, most recently at 5/8 of a mile work in 101 and 2. I'm a little surprised this horse is being dismissed in this spot.
Yeah, it is interesting, right? And we can see the front wraps on there. She's also the only 4-year-old in this field, so we talk about Sweet Little Lisa having some delays to go back. This one's obviously had some setbacks as well, but as you mentioned, I mean, the works, it's relatively consistent coming in. They pick this spot. I've noticed with Scott Becker horses, sometimes they are either off slow, first out, and something like that. So maybe it's that factor, maybe getting a race, but I'm also a little bit surprised not taking much money, and maybe that's a sign.
Yeah, the other one that's interesting is the 6, Angel Express, and here's why I want to say it's interesting. I looked through the ownership line, and the last owner is Philip Sagan Racing LLC. This is part of the ownership group of Two Phils with Larry Ravelli. So now you have this horse who's out there, has a start, and is over in the barn of trainer Vance Childers. But I'll be curious to see. Angel Express didn't run poorly by any means in that race last November. Ran a decent race, was beaten less than 4 in that first start out. And you're getting a little bit of action here, currently sitting at 5-1.
Yeah, I think something went wrong that day because she was wide and she was a little bit rank, carrying herself out, and then she was off the 211 days since. But obviously, you know, they had the intent to run her on the turf first out. That's where she is. She wore the front wraps on debut, has the front wraps on. They do have the blinker edition today, so making that change, taking some money for the connection. So maybe that's a positive sign. And again, I wouldn't make too much out of the debut, given that she might have, you know, something might have gone wrong.
Yeah, well, we're at it. Hey, let's cover everybody in this field. So the Two Royal is currently at 5-1 on the board. We're putting Steven to work down there in the paddock because he's awesome and he loves covering all the race horses. But Two Royal, horse that should be able to show some speed. This is going to be the first time on the grass for this one here, Emily. But you know what? Knocking on the door, a few starts against State Bred Company. You try Open Company, but you have to figure they're going to try to get away quickly from the inside.
Yeah, and I'm glad actually you mentioned the turf because this one was actually scheduled to debut on the turf here back on November 12th and was a late Stewart scratch that day. So maybe there was some intention to run on the turf, and then the later part of the season didn't have the chance to run on the turf because there's no turf racing. The first part of the year there's no turf racing. Obviously out at FanDuel Park there's no turf racing. But I would say the big concern of anything is class, right? Because stepping up from those state bred races where she would have to show a little bit more at that level, and you know, who's to say who's in this field? You know, some of these horses could be much tougher.
Exactly. So we'll see how things unfold here in the opener. We should make note, they have said over there at Ellis Park that racing will resume shortly after a power outage. Horses are still walking around in the paddock
Frank Mastari.
Yep, so we'll see. Yeah, Frank's down there. Well, Frank's part of the ownership group of Sweet Little Lisa. So, yeah.
I know somebody.
You see some folks. Frank's a very good handicapper. He's right there standing by the post in the paddock. But good field here for the opener, Emily, going 5/8 of a mile on the turf. Good luck to everybody with your selections. And we're going to be joining you from our studio for each and every race all day long. Good luck.
Coming on the track for today's first race, they'll go 5 furlongs on a turf course listed as firm with the rail set at 10 feet out. Scratch 2, Go On Girl. Scratch 4, Desired Legacy. Scratch 8, Reba Tech. That leaves a field of 5. Number 1, 2 Royal will carry 1 pound over the program weight. Win, play, show, exacta, trifecta, superfecta. This race starts the rolling daily doubles, rolling pick threes, the 50-cent pick 5. I remind you the turf is listed as good with the rail set 10 feet out. Dirt track is listed as fast. Parading, here they are. 1, 2 Royal, Chris Amy riding. 2 is Scratch. 3 Moment to Shine, Orlando Mojica. 4 is Scratch. 5 Sweet Little Lisa, Alexis Centeno. 6 is Angel Express with Javier Tavares. 7 Wildwood Enough, Victor Santiago. 8 is Scratch. They'll be at the gate in 5 minutes. Kick off the Sunday program at Hawthorne. We do urge you to make your selections early. Thank you. Racing fans, little time remains for the wager on today's first race here at Hawthorne. We have a fast track today. First race is on the turf. Turf listed as good with the rail set at 10 feet out. We have 8 races on the program. We do thank you for joining us wherever you may be across the betting network. As I mentioned, the dirt track is fast. Turf is listed as good. We have one carryover pool today. It's a big one, $102,200 jackpot high five carryover pool on race 8. If you missed it earlier, slight tailwind in the home stretch, 5 miles per hour, maybe 10 at times. We are close to starting time for race 1 at Hawthorne. Moving towards the gate, less than a minute. Now they're at the starting gate for race 1. Horses moving on to the turf course, going into the gate. First to load will be 2 Royal. Rider's off 2 Royal right now. He'll climb back aboard. Remember, if you're just joining us, there are no rider changes on the program. Turf is good. Rail set at 10 feet out. Dirt track is fast. Last to the load will be Sweet Little Lisa and Wildwood Enough. Waiting now for Wildwood Enough.
Right now I'm basically crosshairs on the 5-horse.
Now they're all in the gate. They're off. Towards the inside, 2 Royal out sharply for the lead. Moving up from the outside, here's Angel Express. In third is Moment to Shine. Sweet Little Lisa fourth. Wildwood Enough is the early trailer. 7 lengths would cover them all as they move into the far turn. 2 Royal on the inside. Angel Express on the outside. Head for the lead. Moment to Shine needs racing room third. Sweet Little Lisa on the outside fourth, and 2 Royal is having trouble with the turn, and that carried Sweet Little Lisa to the far outside. As they come to the top of the stretch, it's Angel Express, the leader, coming through the inside. Moment to Shine, they straighten away for the final 3/16, and Moment to Shine with the rail skimming ride takes the lead and draws away. Angel Express trying to fight back second. Towards the inside, coming on third is Sweet Little Lisa. They're coming to the wire. The Ravelli runners are 1-2. Moment to Shine. Sweet Little Lisa closing late, but it's too late. Moment to Shine won it. Sweet Little Lisa, good effort to be second. Then it was Angel Express Wildwood Enough, and 2 Royal. In today's first race, 3 Moment to Shine finished first. 5 Sweet Little Lisa second. 6 Angel Express third. 7 Wildwood Enough fourth. 3, 5, 6, 4 is posted. It's unofficial 58.92. 5 furlongs, good turf course. Returning the unofficial winner, 3 Moment to Shine. Moment to Shine is owned by Patricia's Hope Limited Liability Corporation of Vince Foglia. Larry Ravelli, the winning trainer. Orlando Mojica, the winning rider. It's official. Congratulations to trainer Larry Ravelli. His entrance finished 1-2 here in the opener. And although Sweet Little Lisa finished second, you'll always be first in our hearts. The first race is official. Running time 58.92. It's official. The $1 exact at $356.10. The 50-cent the 50-cent trifecta $356, $8.40, 20-cent superfecta $356.7, $6.88. Once again, the dollar exact at $356.10. 50-cent trifecta $356, $8.40, 20-cent super $356.7, $6.88. Second race today has Win Play Show Exacta Trifecta Daily Double Pick 3. Starts at 50-cent early Pick 4. Here are the changes in your early Pick 4 races. Track fast, turf listed is good, rail set at 10 feet out. Once again, as of now, there are no jockey changes or overweights on the balance of the program. In the second race, scratch 1 Bally Baby, scratch 1 Bally Baby. No other changes in the second. Third race starts at Pick 6 today. Scratch 4 Time Break, scratch 4 Time Break. Fourth race, scratch 2 Arch Flyer. Fourth race, scratch 2 Arch Flyer. Fifth race, Turf Good, rail set at 10 feet out. Scratch 8 Rank and File. Scratch 9 She's Reckless. Scratch 11 Lucy's Looking Left. Fifth race, scratch 8 Rank and File. Scratch 9 She's Reckless. Scratch 11 Lucy's Looking Left. Post time in 24 minutes at 3:04. Track fast, turf good in all cases. Make your selections early. Thank you.
been to NHC, this is what it is right here. This is awesome.
There are going to be prices coming. This room is going to be nuts tomorrow.
These players are unbelievable. This is your chance to be in the spotlight.
When all 8 tracks are in play, there's going to be bombs dropping left and right. There's going to be screaming and yelling.
Hawthorne is probably the best value out there for cash tournament play.
If you're serious about contests and you want to experience the NHC, you have to find a way to get to Hawthorne as many times as you can. You absolutely have to. The reason I think the Hawthorne contests are the best value in contests, there's no entry fee. Hawthorne is giving away seats. You have to play in those events because, we all know what the cost of an online NHC seat is.
We got some free entries, come out to Hawthorne, so I made my first trip and had a great time.
If you're playing contests, Hawthorne is a great spot to be. There's no takeout of the contest. It's a great place for horse players to either qualify here or play in some live money contests.
Before we take a look at today's second race on the card, let's look back at the opener, Emily, as we went 5/8 of a mile on the good turf course. There was that field of 5 in there. Moment to shine, we thought might have the slight edge just because of a little bit of race experience. Ran a good race, but I'll tell you, take nothing away from sweet little Lisa. Pretty good effort at first asking.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the one to follow. She
Yeah.
looked quite good in there. She had to navigate around 2 Royal, who kind of just lost their line around the turn, had to go wide. where Moment to Shine rider was able to just kind of wait, be a little bit patient, get that first run, and they certainly needed it because Sweet Little Lisa was closing, galloped out in front. I don't think she'll be a maiden for much longer, and probably not going to be that much of a price going forward either. So promising debut from that one.
And it could have been a different race at 5.5 furlongs for sure. At 5/8 of a mile, still enough for Moment to Shine to hold on to. I thought a decent run out of Angel Express to run